accounting. Okay? So we, of course, have to be consistently aware what is the vision of the university. So a university committed to exemplary Christian education for life and responsive to the needs of the total person and the world. And the mission is to carry out a program of spiritual, intellectual, moral, scientific, technological, and cultural training and allied studies under influences which strengthen Christian faith, build up character, and promote scholarship, research, and community service. Community service, or we oftentimes called outreach. Now, for the institutional outcomes, the outcomes or the objectives that we have to achieve for the whole university. Practice professionalism with integrity and demonstrate Christ-like character. 2, demonstrate patriotism and be law-abiding citizens. 3, use responsibly God-given talents, skills, and resources to promote well-being and productivity of communities and society. 4, demonstrate technological competence in the practice of profession. And 5, demonstrate continuous effort to grow professionally. Now for our institutional outcomes. Then we have the program educational objectives and its relationship to CPU's institutional outcomes. So we have now the 5 columns with the institutional outcomes. So our program educational objectives, or the PEOs, within 5 years after graduation. Now remember, we have that time, 5 years after graduation. Alumni of the accountancy department should be able to demonstrate competence, professionalism, and integrity in the practice of the accountancy profession and in business-related activities. So all of this relate to the institutional outcomes. B, generate and communicate economic information in an efficient and effective manner using English, Filipino, or any appropriate language for multicultural or multi-sectoral stakeholders. So we have now 3, 4, and 5. C, demonstrate managerial entrepreneurial skills in the practice of profession or allied studies. So by that time, many of you are already or will be holding managerial positions, or some will be entrepreneurs. And D, pursue continuing professional development or scholarly activities. So you may be enrolled in the master's degree programs, and last will be in the doctoral programs. And you will be attending seminars, trainings for your self-development. And some of you may move to other scholarly activities. So you may be engaged in enrolling in allied studies. And letter E, participate in a professional, civic, or local organization which strengthen the profession, promote social responsibility, or nationalism. Now, today that you are in accountancy enrollment, so under BS accountancy, for sure you are members of GPIA. For that, that's a local school organization which actually is attached to the junior, no? So now you are GPIA members. You are attached to PICPA. That's the organization of the certified public accountants, or those in teaching are members of the Acctg, or the Association of CPAs in Education. So whatever you will be after, within a period of 5 years, you will be members of this civic or local or any professional organization. So we have the program objectives for program outcomes for BS accountancy. So we have now here, we have the program educational objectives, and finally the program outcomes. Graduates of the program should be able to, letter A, resolve business issues and problems with a global and strategic perspective using their knowledge and technical proficiency in the areas of financial accounting and reporting, cost accounting, management accounting and control, taxation, or accounting information systems. So mentioned in letter A are the various fields where you will be dealing with in after graduation. Then B, conduct accountancy research through independent studies of relevant literature and appropriate use of accounting theory and methodologies. So by now, one of your subjects is research, which you will also be doing even after graduation, because you need it in your specialized fields, or even when you enroll in the graduate programs. This research knowledge is very, very important. C, employ technology as a business tool in capturing financial and non-financial information, generating reports, and making decisions. Now, you are experts in the use of the computers. You have many computer-related subjects, and now you can work better, and you are experts in the use of these latest technologies as compared to the old accountants that during our time we did not have this exposures in accounting field with computers, so that now you can just open the computer and you can already see so many things which we did not have before. Letter D, apply knowledge and skills that will successfully respond to various types of assessments, including professional, licensure, and certification. Now, the qualifying exams that you were given after the first year and after the second year. Now, these examination questions, most of this you will encounter in the board exams. So when you'll be taking the CPA board examination, or you will have your certifications. So you will be applying your knowledge earned. Then letter E, confidently maintain a commitment to good corporate citizenship, social responsibility, and ethical practice in performing functions as an accountant. So one of your subjects is corporate governance. Another one is ethics, that will actually relate you to this very important fields. In fact, in every subject in accounting, we have to refer to ethical considerations aside from that individual subject in ethics. Program outcomes related to the course and its relationships to program educational objectives. So we have this 5 program outcomes as they relate to the PEOs. Okay? So I hope you will be reviewing this anytime in my examinations. I may be including questions related to these items, including the vision and the mission statements. Now, we go to our course. The number is Counting to 313, and the title is Intermediate Accounting 3. Now, for the scope, the course description. This is the last part of the financial accounting courses. Now, for financial accounting and reporting, or the FAR. However, in the 3rd year, the subject I mentioned a while ago, you still will have a FAR. And a FAR is Advanced Financial Accounting and Reporting. We used to call it Business Combination and Special Transactions. Now this we call a FAR, or Advanced Financial Accounting and Reporting. Now, Accounting 2313 covers the preparation of the properly classified statement of financial position, income statement, statement of comprehensive income, statement of changes in equity, and then we have statement of retained earnings, statement of cash flows, and it also deals with disclosures in the notes to financial statements. It covers reconstruction of accounts from incomplete records and from cash basis to accrual basis of accounting, and also deals with segment reporting, discontinuing operations, interim reporting, correction of errors, and covers accounting for changes in accounting policies, estimates, and fundamental errors. Included are discussions about derivatives, book value per share, and earnings per share. And now, if you can find this in our book, we have accounting for small and medium enterprises, or the SMEs, which we are going to include in our discussions. Now, you will notice that we have a very, very long coverage with only 3 units. And we have only barely 5 weeks. But we already lost 3 days. So that is one challenge to us. how can we finish the book of Valix and Peralta with only 4 weeks more to go? We have to finish the book from cover to cover. So expect that aside from our regular days, we might be holding special classes. So I hope you will not go to the office and question why is it that our teacher is holding extra classes. She is disturbing us because instead of us enjoying our free time, she will be holding classes. Now, this will be in the form of special classes, no? And I hope you understand that our course description is a very, very long way to go. Okay? So, I hope we understand each other. The prerequisite is accounting 2211. The course is only good for 3 units, and we have this as lecture 10 hours per week during summer, and the time that we have now is 9 to 11, 11 to 1 for the accountancy group, and 1:30 to 3:30 supposed to be for accountancy group. But sad to think that only 61 qualified. So the 1:30 to 3:30 class is for the MA students. So our number of days is, only up to the last week of July. Our classes will be from Monday to Friday. No more mental health day. So meaning Wednesday is a class day. Now, hopefully, we have no more mental health day. I believe everybody is mentally healthy. Okay? So we have now your other teachers teaching the subject, no? We have Ma'am Balibarona, Ma'am Crucero, Ma'am Dinuevo, aside from Ma'am Gulilao. And now we have another new teacher, Mr. Nefael Lanciola, who will be holding the MA classes. Now my consultation time will be after the 3:30 class. Anyway, you can just call me in my telephone number, or you can just message for whatever questions you will be asking. But my consultation time is 3:30 to 4:30 in the afternoon. Okay? So we have now the consultation hours. Now let's go to the course outcomes and the relationship to program outcomes. The program outcomes that we have above. After completing the course, the student must be able to. So course outcome number 1, enumerate, discuss, and research examples of the required basic financial statements. So we have now this we are going to discuss in chapter 1. Then 2, meaning the course outcomes. This we are supposed to achieve. 2, apply the specific, generally accepted accounting standards or principles, or what we call the GAAP, applicable to the recognition, measurements, and proper statement presentation of related party transactions and events after the reporting period, non-current asset held for sale, discontinued operation, accounting changes, prior period errors, and derivatives. So we have now course outcome number 2. Then 3, discuss the concepts, uses, and importance, and formula in computing book value and earnings per share. 4, discuss the characteristics of hyperinflationary economy, its financial reporting requirements, and the procedures for restatement of financial statements. 5, correct errors in the accounting records and financial statements. 6, construct and present properly the statement of financial position, statement of comprehensive income, statement of changes in equity, cash flow statement, and notes to financial statements applying the Philippine format and IFRS format. 7, prepare financial statements under interim basis, cash basis, single entry records, constant peso accounting, current cost accounting, and with discontinuing operations. 8, perform the conversion of cash basis financial statements to accrual basis financial statements or vice versa. 9, solve problems accurately with objectivity, confidence, and due care by applying the appropriate accounting principles and formula. Then, 10, demonstrate commitment to uphold the vision and mission of CPU and show adherence to the core values of Central Philippine University in the preparation and presentation of financial statements and other tasks. Now, 11, internalize the CPU core values such as Christian faith, commitment, cooperation, confidence, honesty, respect, and responsible stewardship in his or her life. Now, number 11 will be applied to all. Okay. So we have now course outcomes. Now, for the course design, we have now the time frame. So in other words, we have now the guide when to discuss the topics. So desired learning outcomes. For week 1, we have course outcome number 10. Okay, that's course outcome number 10. Demonstrate commitment to uphold. And the students will be able to, learning objective 1, demonstrate commitment to uphold the vision and mission of CPU and ethically comply with the course requirements. And we have now the activities, and we have the teaching and learning activities, assessment, tasks, and tools. So we have now students to introduce themselves. Now I did the introduction of the students and ask you to open your camera. Then we have the teaching and learning activities, synchronous online discussions. So we have now synchronous online discussions. And we have now still for week 1, we have to think of week 1 that will be up to tomorrow. Then we will be discussing course outcome number 1, number 6, number 9, and number 10. 169. So 10 is always there. So course outcome number 1. Okay. That's number 1. Then number 6. Okay. Number 6. Then number 9. And of course, number 10. Number 10 is common to all weeks. Okay? So we have now the course outcomes with 1, 6, 9, and 10. And we have now module 1 for financial statements. So we have now the definition of financial statements and financial reporting. Now, take note that students will be able to define and differentiate financial statements and financial reporting. Enumerate and discuss the components of the required basic financial statements, its purposes, and objectives. Distinguish financial reports from financial statements. Enumerate the primary and secondary target users of financial reporting. 5, explain the objectives and limitations of financial reporting. Discuss the management's responsibility and accountability in the preparation and presentation of financial statements. Describe the general features in the preparation and presentation of financial statements, and demonstrate objectivity and honesty in preparing and presenting financial statements. So for our activities, okay, we have now module 1, and we have the activities, no? Then we have the books, and we have synchronous online discussions of the topics in financial statements and financial reporting. That's with PowerPoint and discussion with examples. Then we have the asynchronous viewing of videos about problem solving as additional examples per chapter. Students who participate in the discussions to submit assignments and to solve problems and discuss them, and you will be given a quiz, no, in Canvas, and we have to research and download examples of financial statements. Now, all of these are to be covered with during week number 1. So remember that week number 1 has a very, very long coverage. We have now week number 1 there for the outcomes. Then still to continue, no, take note that week number 1, we will be using module number 1 and module number 1 for the outcomes numbers 1 up to 10 for week number 1. Then we have still in week number 1, students will be able to define statement of financial position, differentiate statement of financial position from other financial statements, identify and discuss the elements of assets, liabilities, and equity, as well as their minimum line items in a statement of financial position. Enumerate examples of current and non-current assets current and non-current liabilities, and shareholders' equity. Classify properly the assets and liabilities into current and non-current classification in a statement of financial position. Prepare a properly classified report form and account form statement of financial position and apply the Philippine format and IFRS format. Solve problems with confidence and due care related to statement of financial position using appropriate accounting principles. Now, for week 1, and we have the list of topics to be discussed. Then for week 2, we have course outcome number 1 still there, number 2, number 6, number 9, and number 10. Now take note that above we still have course outcomes 1, 6, 9, and 10. This time we have to include course outcome number 2. And we have now the modules, module number 3 for the notes to financial statements, related parties, and events after the reporting period. So we have now the students will be able to explain the nature and purpose of notes to financial statements. List the order of preparing and presenting notes to financial statements. Identify the other disclosure requirement for the judgment and estimation uncertainty. Discuss the concept of related parties, identify them and their transactions. Determine the requirement for disclosure of related party relationship and transactions, including the key management personnel compensation. 6, discuss the concept and types of events after the reporting period. 7, list down the examples of adjusting and non-adjusting events and explain their proper recognition. 8, determine the date and disclosure requirements of authorization for issue of financial statements. Solve problems with confidence and due care related to notes, related parties, and events after reporting period transactions, applying the appropriate accounting principles. And we have to be considered are the topics as found in module number 3. Notes to financial statements, related parties, and events after the reporting period. Then still in week number 2 are to cover or course outcomes 1, 6, 9, and 10. Students will be able to define and differentiate statement of comprehensive income and income statement. Discuss the nature and concept of comprehensive income, profit or loss, and other comprehensive income. Identify the components and reclassification adjustments of other comprehensive income. Explain the options of presenting the comprehensive income. Enumerate and discuss the sources of income. List and explain each component of expenses. Present the functional and natural expense income classification in the income statement. Define and prepare statement of retained earnings and statement of changes in equity. Solve problems with confidence and due care related to statement of comprehensive income, statement of retained earnings, statement of changes in equity using appropriate accounting principles and formulae. Show honesty, objectivity, and due care in computing profit or loss of the client or the company. And all this, we have module number 4 with all its contents. So module number 4. Now, we have similar activities as in module 1. Then still on week 2, we have still to cover and achieve course outcomes 1, 6, 9, and 10 with module number 5, the statement of cash flows. Students will be able to define the statement of cash flows and state the purposes. Identify and discuss the different activities included in the statement of cash flows. Enumerate examples of operating, investing, and financing activities. Prepare a statement of cash flows using the direct and indirect methods. Solve problems with confidence and due care related to statement of cash flows using appropriate accounting techniques. Now, that's part of module number 5, the statement of cash flows. Then for week number 3, to cover course outcomes number 2, number 7, number 9, and number 10. Non-current asset held for sale and discontinued operation. The students will be able to define the terms non-current asset in disposal group. Enumerate and discuss the conditions that must be present in order for a non-current asset to be classified as held for sale. State the recognition, proper measurement, and statement presentation of assets held for sale. Define discontinuing operations and compare its income with the income from continuing operation. 5, discuss the concept and recognition of a discontinued operation. 6, give examples of transactions considered discontinued and not continued operations. So transactions considered discontinued and not continued operations. 7, discuss the presentation of discontinued operations in the financial statements. Prepare with due care income statement with continuing and discontinuing operation section. And still, we have learning or we have course outcome number 10. So for module number 6, with all its contents. Now take note that in all these weeks, we have to include course outcome number 10. Then for still week 3, we have course outcome number 2, 5, 9, and 10. Now, by the way, you can find the description of each of these course outcomes at the beginning. So in course outcomes here for the week 3, students will be able to discuss the concepts of changes in accounting estimates, policies, and prior period errors. Learning objective 2, explain the recognition and reporting of changes in accounting estimate, policies, and prior period errors. And we have now number 4, report changes in accounting estimates, changes in accounting policies, and prior period errors in the appropriate statements. 5, solve problems with confidence and due care related to changes in estimates, policies, and prior period errors using appropriate accounting principles and formulae. So we have now, we have module number 7 and its composition. Then for week number 3, after week number 3, we have the midsummer examination. So July 8, that's the tentative time, though we may have it after or before, depending upon how we will be able to cover these topics that we have. So after the midsummer exam, we have week number 4 to achieve course outcome 7, 9, and 10. So for this, we have course outcome 7, 9, and 10 for module 8, interim financial reporting and operating segment. Students will be able to discuss interim financial reporting principles and components, explain the nature of interim reporting in contrast to annual financial reporting, differentiate integral view from independent view or on interim financial reporting, apply the rules, principles in preparing and presenting interim financial statements and in solving problems. Discuss the core principle and concept of operating segment. Identify the criteria for the recognition of a reportable segment. Identify the information required to be disclosed for a reportable segment. Solve problems correctly with confidence related to interim reporting and operating segment using appropriate accounting principles and formulae. Learning objective 9, internalize the value of honesty and independence in answering assignments and examination. Actually, that's course outcome number 10. So we have module number 8 for the interim financial reporting and operating segment. And by the way, we are still in week number 4. Still week number 4, course outcomes 2, 9, and 10 for module 9 with derivatives. Students will be able to discuss the nature, purpose, and characteristics of a derivative, identify the financial risk related to derivative, enumerate the common examples of derivatives. Then we have identified the recognition, measurement criteria, and proper accounting of derivatives such as interest rate, swap, forward, future, and option contracts. 5, discuss the concept and bifurcation requirement of embedded derivative. Give examples of embedded derivatives. Solve problems correctly with confidence related to derivatives using appropriate accounting principles and formulae. So we have now your module number 9 for derivatives. Then for still From weeks 4 to week number 5 to achieve course outcome 7, 8, 9, and 10 with module number 10, cash basis, accrual basis, and single entry method. The students will be able to differentiate cash from accrual basis of accounting for income and expenses, perform the conversion of cash basis financial statements to accrual basis financial statements or vice versa. Then prepare adjustments in converting the cash basis financial statements to accrual basis financial statements. Show objectivity and due care in converting cash basis to accrual basis of accounting or vice versa. Discuss the concepts of single entry versus double entry system. Compute for net income or loss using the single entry method. Prepare financial statements based on single entry records. Now, with module number 10, cash basis, accrual basis, and single entry method. Then we have now for the last week, we have to achieve course outcomes 2, 5, 9, and 10 with module number 11, correction of errors. Define prior period errors and explain its accounting treatment. Enumerate the different types of errors. Differentiate counterbalancing errors and non-counterbalancing errors. Prepare correcting entries and compute for corrected net income. Develop patience and due care in finding errors and completing them. So we have now module number 11 to apply. Then still on the last week, number 5, to achieve course outcomes 3, 9, and 10 with module number 12, book value and earnings per share. Differentiate book value per share from earnings per share. Discuss the formula in computing book value and earnings per share. Apply formula in computing the book value per share, preference, and ordinary share capital. That's learning objective 4. Distinguish the non-cumulative, cumulative, participating, and non-participating, and give a sample computation for each. Now we are referring to the types of preferred stock. Differentiate preferred as to asset and preferred as to dividends. Compute with objectivity and basic and diluted earnings per share. And we have now present properly the earnings per share, the financial statements, explain with confidence the uses and importance of book value and earnings per share. Identify potential ordinary shares and their formula in computing dilutive earnings per share. Distinguish diluted and anti-dilutive securities. So we have now module to cover this, number 12. Okay, now we have the last week for week 6 to achieve course outcome 4, 7, 9, and 10 with module number 13, hyperinflation and current cost accounting. students will be able to discuss hyperinflation and state the characteristics of the economic environment of a country which indicate hyperinflation. Identify the requirement for financial reporting in a hyperinflationary economy. Differentiate general price change from specific price change and constant peso accounting from current cost accounting. Enumerate examples of monetary and non-monetary items. Discuss the formula and procedures for statements of financial statements that reports in the currency of a hyperinflationary economy. Then prepare and compare financial statements prepared under constant peso accounting and current cost accounting. Exhibit the value of honesty, independence, and discipline. That's course outcome number 10. And we have to cover this is module number 13, hyperinflation and current cost accounting. Now, for week number 6, no? All of this, aside from hyperinflation, as I have already mentioned to you, aside from the last topic, which is hyperinflation, that's chapter 22. In chapter 23, with current cost accounting, we are going to continue with chapters 24 down to 30 for the small and medium enterprises or the SMEs with the definition, with financial statements, with assets, with liabilities, with equity, and chapter 30, small entities. Now we are going to cover chapters 1 to 30 of the book of Valix and Peralta. Now take note that we have a very, very long way to go. And this is only a 3-unit course which we have to finish this summer term. So it's just as long as your intermediate accounting 1 and 2. But the difference is those two previous subjects had 6 units each, while this one is only good for 3 units. Okay? So that's the syllabus, and in the syllabus here for week 6, we have the final examination. Schedule is July 28. And that's only tentative. Again, we may adjust that depending as to how we cover our topics. Now for the textbook, we have intermediate accounting, but it's already intermediate accounting 3, 2021 edition. 2021 edition by Valix, Peralta, and Valix, and we may provide additional handouts. For you have the references available at the CPU main library, but these are, way behind the fact that we are now using the latest edition. Now, for the grading system with the weights, though we have to understand that this is a summer term. And we have now for the midsummer exam, 25%. That's a midsummer exam. Then the final exam will be 35%, and the quizzes 25%, and the other requirements 15%. So midsummer, final exam, quizzes, we may have long quizzes and short quizzes are included in other requirements. Ang short quizzes. Ang long, amo lang na ang sa quizzes. Then in other requirements, I will ask everyone to report. After this, I will give you individual topics. Okay? So we have now the passing is 60%, but you have to get a grade no less than 2.25. How do we compute the grade of the students? So the transmuted value, the general weighted average is by adding the components, then deduct the passing mark, 60, then 100 minus 60, we multiply by 25 plus 75. And the transmuted value of the final grade should be rounded off to the nearest whole number. So to be rounded off to the nearest whole number. And we have now the transmuted value. So your grade requirement is 2.25. In other words, you have to get a transmuted value of 83. So a transmuted value of 83. Okay? Then students with incomplete grade and no other subjects enrolled. Now this applies to the graduating students. For the classroom policy, or excuse me, students who miss the schedule, let's say midsummer exam, should take the exam within 10 days after the last day of the scheduled major exam. Otherwise, student will be given a score of 5.0. In my case, if a student misses a periodic exam, I give special exams for all, no? Together. So not individually, but for all who miss the exam with valid reasons. Like internet problem, you have to inform me earlier. Or when you are sick, okay, you anyway send me a message. So in that case, we have to give you special exams. Now for the classroom policies, we begin with a prayer. So the student should have a chance to lead the prayer. And in our case, the reporter of the day should be the one to lead the prayer. Reporter. Respect one another at all times. Cell phone should not be used during quizzes. So no cell phones allowed. Special quiz can only be given if student can give a valid reason or present a document as evidence for her or his absence. Arrange chairs. No, that does not apply. So we have now the standard of academic integrity. Okay. Statement of commitment, which you have to sign for the department. Okay, so students are strongly encouraged to take advantage of instructors' evaluation hours for help with coursework or anything else connected. So I'm going to end the discussions through this recorded version. I'm going to end the recorded version But anyway, do not go because I will have one more thing to discuss. I know you have no classes, 11 to 1, so I will still have things to discuss. We end the recording, so you go back